Oh, hey, welcome back to Dark Earth Customs. My name's Joshua, and, well, I'm just doing something here that some of you in the north will understand. Toes are a little cold right now from tromping through the water, and instead of going all the way back to the house, I thought I'd just use my torch and kind of warm up my socks a little bit. Because up here, we just find whatever way we can to keep our toes warm. So, let me go ahead and get my shoe back on here, and we'll get going. So, it's been a while. I think about 3 weeks since I actually made a Thunderbird video. Now, I made some odds and ends here and there, but I haven't actually done a video yet back, because it got so cold and so snowy that there was really no way to get out here. I had plans to keep coming back out like I told you guys in my other videos, but I guess God had other plans for me, which is fine. I got other things done, but we got snow on top of snow on top of snow on top of snow, and it just never seemed to stop snowing until recently. Now, those of you that don't live up here in the Great White North or in Minnesota may not understand how the climate works up here, because a week ago it was single digits and snowing, and today, a week later, it's 50 degrees out, and in another couple days it's going to be 70 degrees out. Today's video isn't really going to be a whole lot about getting the engine apart or turning, because it still doesn't turn. What we are though here to do is to try to prep the engine to make it turn. And now that it's staying above 30 degrees, I believe we're finally into the warmer season. What we up here call spring, you guys call winter. But my plans are simple. I have tried time and time and time again to get this engine to turn. It is frozen. It is very frozen. Now, I have a line on another engine, if needed. It is a Ford 360 FE, and I know that's not the same as this. This is a 390, but the plain and simple difference between the 360 and the 390 isn't displacement. It's the fact that the 390 had a 4-barrel and a different crankshaft and different rods for the pistons. That is basically it. So that means if I took a 360, if I can't get this to work, then what I can do is buy a 360 and just put the rotating assembly for a 390 into the 360 block, because it is identical. But we're going to try to get this motor to turn, because I would prefer to have a numbers matching vehicle. And what I mean by that is everything that this car came from the factory with is going to be what stays in it. So everything that is original. Now, like I said, I have a few add-ons and aftermarket parts that are going to make it run better and safer. But regarding a numbers matching car, the block, you know, the AC, whatever is stamped as the 65, that's what I'd like to try to keep it as. So what the plans are for today, I am going to take my valve spring compressor, and I am going to take the valve springs off every intake valve on the head. Since this engine is coming all apart anyway, it doesn't matter if the valves fall in. I really don't care either way. But if you weren't taking the heads off, you definitely have to either use an air line in the cylinder. If you want to keep the valves up, you can pressurize each cylinder, or you can stuff rope in the cylinders, whatever you need to do to keep the valves from dropping in. Now, because of how obviously corroded this engine is, I don't think that's a really big issue on this, but it is on other cars. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how we're going to get the valve springs off of the intake valves. Then I'm going to push the intake valves down some if they don't drop on their own. That way that opens up the air runner in the intake. It goes down into the intake valves and then goes down into the head. So that whole piece is going to be open. Now I do have a couple sticky exhaust valves on this, and I'm hoping that won't cause too big of an issue, but we'll see as we go, I guess. So once I get the valves set up the way I want, I will put the spark plugs back into the cylinders. Then I'm going to take the vinegar I bought, and I'm going to pour the vinegar right into the intake where the carburetor used to sit. And I'm going to fill the engine up with vinegar through the intake, through the runners, down into the valves, and down into the cylinders. And we're going to let it sit. Now, based upon how long it took for the rust to come off of the master cylinder, I'm expecting this is not just going to be an overnight job. I'm going to come out quite regularly and try to spin the engine over. I'm assuming, based upon my knowledge of how vinegar works with engines, that it should eat enough rust or even dissolve the piston rings, which would be better. Then it'll turn over. Once it turns over, I can get everything apart, and I can start working on it and rebuilding it. Being that it's going to be springtime here now in Minnesota, it's kind of like a flip of a switch here in this state. You know, we don't just usually have a gradual warm-up like we used to. Now it's just kind of like winter and then next day spring. So I should be able to start getting the parts out of the engine once it gets free. Of course, this is all betting on that I get it free. I believe I can. But if not, there's always ways to fix things. So that's the plan. We're going to get the cylinders filled up with vinegar, and I'm going to come out here probably every couple hours for the next few days, and hopefully manage and watch what's happening, and hoping that that thing spins free. Now, you know, I look at these push rods here, and I haven't taken the intake off yet. I don't plan to do that until the engine's out. Like I had explained before, the push rod rides on the lifter. That's down in the cylinder. The lifter rides on the camshaft, and the camshaft is turned by the crankshaft. Usually, if engines are super rusty, I wouldn't see oil here. So that's why I'm betting this is probably going to be salvageable. Do I know that for sure? No. Could there be rust elsewhere? You betcha. Whoever the idiot was that left the spark plugs out of this thing did me a great disservice. But just owning the car is the beginning of progress. I also did find out that I had really hoped on bringing this car back to the 50s to show it off. Funny enough, after doing some digging, I find that the cutoff year for Back to the 50s to show your car is 1964. And this is a 1965. So I missed it by 1 year. That means, well, I guess that's kind of a bonus because that means I get to buy another car, another classic to restore, to be able to have there. And you guys get to see me restore another car. And all the other projects that I have in mind. I did go out to Harbor Freight today and bought myself a brand new vacuum tester. Now, this was a whopping $15. So really wasn't that bad. And for a carbureted car, that is a necessity. Because if you're going to get your car running the right way, you're going to need a vacuum tester. I have one. It's old, it's decrepit, and it's in very bad shape. So, new one for $15, not even a second thought. But that is further down the road. A lot further. A lot further. So why don't we go ahead and get started here. I will show you what I mean by compressing the valve springs, because my valve spring compressor is compressing the valve springs. And what that does is allows me to get the little keyways out of the top here, and then I'll be able to pull the spring off. If you haven't done it before, make sure you find out how to do it. Make sure you're doing it safe. The springs are under tension, and if they fly off, they can fly in any direction possible. Not that it happens that often. I mean, I haven't heard a whole lot of horror stories over valve springs, but hey, things happen. So I will show you what to do. That way, if you want to take your valve springs off, go ahead. So why don't we go ahead and get started here. I have 4 gallons of vinegar waiting for me if I have to go that far. I imagine it'll take at least 2, maybe more. And yeah, I guess we should just get started. So, I'm going to come over here to this side. And let me see here. How should we do this? Maybe if I take and put you guys on the other side. Okay, this is one of many different designs, but this is a valve spring compressor. What it does is it grabs onto the bottom of the spring and the top cap, compresses them together so you can get the keyways out. I have different ones of these. This is the one I like. The other ones are relics that I'm not a fan of. So you see, I don't know if you guys can see here, but you see how this arm and this arm are not the same height when put together. That's because the valve spring is a coiled spring, so it's higher on one side than the other. So So that's why they make that, because you got to pull these off level. And then you just back this out all the way. And if you're not sure which spring is which, look at your exhaust manifold. The exhaust manifold out here on this side of the engine. And right here, I can see part of the exhaust manifold. That means this spring here is exhaust, and that one is intake. I look down further, I see that one is exhaust right here. So that one's intake. I look on this one here, I can see this one is exhaust, so this one's intake. Now, granted, these 390s are great engines. Staggered and or similar intake and exhaust, where they're either opposing or next to each other. When they're opposing, it creates a lot less distortion and improper heating. So having them offset is a much better option. I don't know why this is like this. These three are right, these three are right, and these two, which are exhaust, let me see. Yeah, okay, so right here isn't going to cause improper heating. I was thinking that these were exhausts, but they're intakes. So the exhausts are opposing on here, which I guess is a much better design, even though you got two intakes right next to each other. But exhaust, intake, exhaust, intake, intake, exhaust, intake, exhaust. It's a better design than opposing. I mean, I've seen other ones where the exhausts were right next to each other. And so when you get hot spot, and they get together, then you start warping heads. But I digress. We're here to learn about the Thunderbird and how to take valve springs off it in this episode. So that's what we're going to do. You guys ready? Because I know I am. Alright. Get some of this crap out of the way here. It's gotten kind of ridiculous. Okay. Intakes. So, there's not a lot of great space to work with over here on this side. Oh boy. I can just tell it's going to be a bear, you know? Okay. It's funny, it wants to do it the wrong way. Maybe she just doesn't want to come apart. Well, come on here. Come on. Quit fighting me. I don't know if this will make any difference, but I'll turn it around. A little bit of a difference. Okay. I am definitely way off. So, this should be fun. Winding this back down. I probably could have come out here without a jacket on, but you know, it's 5:30, 6-ish right now, and sun's starting to go down a bit, and, well, I'm not a fan of the cold. I kind of liked it when I was a kid. And all kids like it. You go outside and build snowmans and run around and act like chickens with their heads cut off. But as you get older, that love for winter just goes away. And everyone that I've talked to says the exact same thing. Okay. A little off center. Hoping you guys can see this one anyways. Alright. So it's hooked into each side of the valve spring, and this arm here is sitting on top of the cap on top of the valve spring. Now as I crank this down, hopefully everything will stay out of the way, the tension is going to come off of the intake spring. This is also a time to be careful. Take your time. Don't rush through it. If the valve spring compressor slips, you can see that it's really wobbly and loose now. If the valve spring compressor slips, it can definitely cause problems. Flying in whatever direction it feels like it wants to fly. Now, I'm not sure if I got enough grab on this one or not, because I barely see that cup. Let's see if I can poke at it here. So, here's the valve spring. On top of the valve spring is the top cap. In the center of the valve spring is the valve. And what connects the two together, connects the valve spring and the valve, is a little groove in the top of the valve spring shaft. Well, these little keyways here lock together and pinch into that groove on the shaft. And when you pull the tension off the valve spring, it forces that cap and the lockers to grab together, and they do not come out. This is why you have to do it this way. Now, I'm just going to see if I can give her a little glove tap there. Alrighty. I don't know if you guys heard that change in tone, but that got this center to pull down. Now, this is the other part of the problem that I take. So I'm going to go grab a magnet. I will be right back, because I want to see if I can do this with a magnet instead of cursing my way through this like I have in the past. Okay, so several different magnets here. I think they're probably all the same strength, but you know what, you never know. So the thought behind this is that you can take the magnet and ease the clips out. Now, like I said, this isn't always the easiest thing to do. Of course not. Well, let's try this one maybe. Otherwise, I'm going to have to do it the manual way. Which I don't like doing. Come on. Oh, no. Well, oh, I grabbed on the push rod. Okay, well, let's try one more. This one seems pretty strong. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes there is just no space to do anything. And I know they would come out if they had the space. I know that for a fact. So, I see that my compressor has slipped some. So, because of that, I don't feel that this is in a safe space. Safe space. Do you need a safe space? You need to go hide in a corner and cry your liberal tears. Alright. I'm going to move this back over. So I wound that out a little bit. And I'm going to see if I can even just turn this compressor down the spring a little bit too. Okay, I think that's better. Alright. There are no safe spaces on my farm here. Hobbiton Hills is a safe space free zone. So if you're expecting one, don't come here for it. Now I'm going to keep turning this. I'm going to be very careful while I turn it. And it's starting to finally bottom out where it won't turn any further. And that is a lot more room. Let's see if I can get... Come on. It's trying. I can see it moving. It's trying to pull off. I have a feeling this is going to end up being a longer video than I wanted. I'm probably just going to have to edit some of this out or go faster or hit the turbo boost. Call up Kit and Michael Knight and turbo boost through this. Because you are just being the biggest brat. Oh, come on. And you know what? I think I don't want my beautiful, beautiful Trump 2024 hat getting dirty. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of just finagle that out of the way. You'll get to see my amazing hat here. Just a mess. But I don't like washing hats. It's not fun. And especially because I have a bunch of hats. I don't like doing it. There's got to be a better way for it. Come on! Actually, it's every single manufacturer does the same way. There is no getting past this at all. You know, my big fat hat hair head is in the way, kind of, but I just don't get it. Why won't you come out? I've never had this kind of a problem. I can see you trying. Where is that magnet? This one has a little bit of a lip on it. Let's see if this does it. You know what? I also see that these clips are kind of in the way that I wouldn't like them to be. There. Okay, so let's go ahead and see about pushing this down just out of the way enough. Uh-oh, we don't want to drop that down in there. So let's just go ahead and get those out of the way. Can you believe this? Really? I can't believe this. This is just unbelievable. I have never, in a million years, in the million years that I've been working on cars, I have never had such a problem getting valve springs released. And I just don't get it. Why, Lord? Why won't you let me take my valve springs off? Really? Really? It's just not fair. I can't get the darn thing to go down far enough without breaking my hand off. I swear, if you don't give me this valve spring, I'm going to name you Rat Turd. What do you think about that, Thunder Chicken? I need something to press against that's not the palm of my hand. What do I got up here? I know I have rags. It's my barn. Just need a little more oomph into it. Here we go. Here's one of my rag shirts. Oh, yeah, that's it. This is what I got when I was working for that one pizza place that's got the red roof, you know, the red roof, and all the delicious pizzas. I was a driver for many years because being a driver pans out, actually. It's an enjoyable job. I mean, obviously it's not as enjoyable as trying to get valve springs off your engine. Well, by George, what is your problem? I am just so confused. You are right there. I mean, for goodness sakes. Get off! Get off! Just get off! Never, ever, ever have I had this kind of a problem. Never, ever. The problem is I can't get any more purchase on the bottom spring. I'm going to see. I'm going to do this for my own protection. I'm going to cover this up. But I want to see if I can get this to turn any further. I'm covering it up because I don't want it flying in my beautiful face here if it came apart. Oh, she's turning again. That's strange. Wonder why she stopped turning before. Okay, there it is. That is completely bottomed out. Let's try this again, shall we? I really hope this little jaunt in the pits of hell wasn't just because it wasn't down enough. Because if it is, I'm just going to tear every hair out of my head. I don't like that magnet. I like this one. Let's try this again. Holy crap. Look at that. There it is. Okay. It is highly unlikely you will be able to see this. So I'm going to give you what's called valve stem retainer vision. Woo! Okay. Can you see that? If you look on the inside of that valve spring retainer, you kind of see a little ledge. And that's what I was fighting against. This 3D valve spring retainer. Poke your eye out. What that does is it notches in to the valve spring. And you are just going to be a little horrible snot, aren't you? See, here's the other side of this conundrum. Now that I got one out, the other one wants to slide all the way in. And that is something we just don't want. So, we're going to start the process again. But this time it should be much easier. Okay, there's number 2. Set that aside there. And then what we do now is we stop being a brat. Okay, so here's the cup that the valve spring retainer clips fit in and squish between that and the valve stem. Now, that's really not a good sign because I'm seeing some rustiness. I don't like seeing rustiness in the valve guide, which is what the valve rides in and out of. I imagine if this engine is salvageable and if I get it to turn over, these heads are going to go straight to the machine shop. Do not pass go, do not collect $200 and get milled. Because Yeah, that don't work. If I can't save this, machine shop's going to have to. Alright, you see me struggling there. I don't know if you can see that, but inside this valve spring is a little cup. And that little cup rides on this ridge right here. That is your oil control. So when the oil splashes up into the head, it runs down and around the valve stem and doesn't go into the valve stem. When you see cars burning oil, like just pouring out of their exhaust pipe, blue is oil, black is gas, white is coolant. So when you see oil, blue, pouring out of somebody's exhaust pipe, it is one of a few things. It's either really bad piston rings, letting oil pass through and up into the combustion chamber, or these little valve guide covers letting oil down into the cylinders, or, well, you just have a crappy engine. But usually it's one of the first two. And on this one, I can see for certain that that little guide cap is hard as a rock. It has turned from rubber, which is what it is when it leaves the factory. It's a little rubber cap. Many years of never being changed out turns them into hard, brittle plastic. Then you start burning oil. Okay. So, here's what's going to happen. I think I've rambled on long enough just to get this one out. We're going to come back when I get the other 7 off. Once I have the other 7 off, we'll pick it up. I'll show you what I'm going to do next. Get the spark plugs in and fill this baby up to the brim with